We get the people jumping on right and early. You are live. We should have no Wi-Fi issues. Good morning, everybody. We are going to start at, hey, Carla Pine is on. We're going to start at 9 o'clock with Janine. We're going to get an update on the shirts at 9 o'clock. So I just wanted to jump on here and get everybody set up on the Facebook. We're also on YouTube. If for some insane reason you wanted to punch it up on your big screen, that would be disturbing if I had to watch myself on the big screen. But good morning, Jill. We have a great show lined up for today, the Stay at Home Show, episode number 1, and day number 9 of the beach being closed. We're 3 minutes away from starting it all off. 3 minutes. How's the sound, everybody? Good morning, Dawn. I want to thank the mayor for coming on like almost every night last week, giving us an update on how things are going with her calls with all the other mayors, and Brian Hammond and Elizabeth Benaquisto. She's been great to us. Dave Drum is on. Good morning, Dave. We sound okay? Can you guys hear me all right? Jill? All right, Chad in Michigan. Chad is, oh, yeah, that's right. You guys are in a lockdown in Michigan. Rainy, Connecticut. Is Connecticut locked down? We have 2 minutes before we roll. 2 minutes. And from our secret sources, John Heim is hosting a watch party today. What else? He's got nothing else to do. Now he's stalking us. Day 15 of self-isolation. Yes, you are in lockdown in Connecticut. All right, my sister is there. This is not only my backyard, but this is now my gym. This is where we work out. We have 2 bands. That's what we work out with. 2 bands left. After all the equipment I had, owning a gym, I have saved myself 2 bands. No dumbbells, no weights or anything. 1 minute. We start in 1 minute. Episode number 106. 1,300 cases. Where is that, Carrie? 1,300 cases, 27 deaths. Where's Carrie? Carrie, where are you? That's a lot. Less than a minute. Buckle up. Whatever that means. I don't know if you guys watched the Facebook beforehand. We had a big dog show beforehand. Dogs are now resting. Yes, missing the gym big time. But I'm not complaining. No complaining. And a good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio, episode number 106. Today is Saturday, March 28th, 2020, and day 9 of Fort Myers Beach being closed. I'm broadcasting live from my home, which is really where everyone should be this weekend. And moving forward, everyone should be at home. The wife is off today. So really, here's the latest. Lee County is monitoring the movement of residents this weekend before meeting again Monday morning. It's at that meeting, I think it's 9:30, that we believe they'll decide whether or not to make the stay-at-home suggestion mandatory. Until now, both Lee and Collier counties have punted that decision. In fact, yesterday, the Collier County Board held a marathon meeting, ultimately deciding to wait for the governor to decide. During that meeting yesterday, Collier commissioners took like hours of public comment where they listened to health officials push for stricter social distancing. And they heard from business owners about how devastating a stay-at-home order would be to them and the local economy. We also learned that the Goodwill and pawn shops, all the owners from the pawn shops believe that they are essential businesses because they provide paychecks to people that are less fortunate. The reality is every business owner believes their business is essential to the community in some way, or they would not be in business. Well, our frequent guest host is with us today with Kim out, Steve Duello. Steve joins us from Fort Myers Beach in his home. Steve, how are things going there?
They're doing well. We have two of our grandsons, my son and daughter-in-law down here from Chicago. They've been here for 2 weeks, so we're all kind of locked in here. We're still getting out and walking a little bit and riding bikes, and then fortunate enough to go out and take some boat rides. So we're not complaining.
So, Steve, it seems like what local governments are dealing with now are deciding whether to crash their local economies or listen to the health officials who admittedly are using data that they're not really sure of, but that comes in almost hourly to lock things down. What do you think about what you see and what you hear about, whether or not everybody should go into a mandatory lockdown?
It's a tough question. Florida is such a diverse state with different counties being affected different ways. So it's hard to make a blanket statement that the whole state should lock down. I know a lot of people are out there saying that Lee County, Collier, and should do so. I'm not in favor of it. I think we need to stand back and let the leaders, the community leaders, look at the data and and make the best decision they can and support them in whatever they do. I'm certainly not equipped with enough data to make that choice, so I tend to sit back, or would prefer to sit back and let the professionals take care of it and do what's needed. It looked like Collier County would lock down for sure, but then after listening to the public speakers at the meeting yesterday, made the decision to not do so, and I support that.
What was interesting in that meeting yesterday was, first when you see that the pawn shop owners are coming up there, you kind of roll your eyes thinking, okay, everybody's going to come up and say they're essential. But when you listen to them make their case, it really makes a lot of sense because, they do provide some kind of service to the community that you might not, that those people that go there might not be able to get at a bank.
When you first hear it, you're like, oh, come on. Then the more you think about it, it does make some sense.
So what's it like on the beach? I mean, I haven't been down there since last Saturday when we did the show at Pete's Time Out, and it's depressing that not see anybody, not have any tables out, but we all get it. So what's it like now, even a week later, when people are really starting to see the numbers in the different states and try and stay in their house? So A, they don't get it, and B, they follow the rules. So what's it like when you get out on their bikes and stuff?
Well, I think the request for people to stay home has taken effect. The streets are clear. You can ride your bike now up and down the sidewalks, and you can even ride out in the streets on a Stero and not face much traffic. So it is definitely thinned out. We took the boat and circled the island 2 days ago. The beaches are empty. We paralleled the whole front of the island. We did see two clusters of people. There's a group of about 4 and a group of about 5 that either didn't know the rule or were ignoring it. The base vehicles come by and shoo them away. To see only 9 people the whole length of Fort Myers Beach kind of shows that they are paying attention to the order and people are staying at home. We're up and down the streets on the bikes. We have people here in the subdivision that ride by on bikes. People are, friendly, keeping their distance, but they're all saying hi. And I think people want to be outside, and as long as you're away from people and on your own on a bike or a boat, I think that's pretty good.
So, Steve, let's bring in Bob from Shuckers, the managing partner at Shuckers, and Bob had to shut down I think it was last Friday, week ago yesterday, after trying to do the takeout, and then Bob, well, I'll let you explain. You guys decided last week to shut down. What was that like to have to make that decision?
Yeah, so I had a meeting with my team, and we actually shut down. I just felt like with the governor's mandate, with the executive order, there was no way that I could mitigate a crowd within Shuckers, and people were looking for a place to go and escape and get something to eat and have a cocktail or whatever. And so we actually closed the day before. We closed Thursday. The day before the mandate, and it was a very, very difficult decision. My heart goes out to our employees because they're they're really the ones that are the face of the cottage, and these are really tough times.
So, what happens to the employees at this point? Do they file for unemployment? I mean, how there's so many down on the beach. So what is the process for those folks to kind of, I guess, hang on long enough for this thing to pass?
We just talked to everybody individually and said, listen, we are certainly not laying you off, but we're not open for business. So you do what you have to do to make it through this time. And I think people in the hospitality business, bartenders and servers and whatnot, if you do it long enough, that saving your money is probably a good thing. So I think there's some people that are in better positions than others, and I think there are people that have money in the bank, but I also know that this is going to be challenging for a lot of people, and we certainly weren't in a financial position to have anybody hang on with us. And I have just a couple of people there around the clock, cleaning and for security purposes. But that's everything that we were able to do. So we contacted them individually and just said, we're really sorry, but we're standing by our president and the government and our local authorities, and we're going to do everything that we can to put this pandemic at the forefront, and it's safety first.
Bob, hold on. I'm gonna bring Janine in while we have that thought with the employees down there. And Janine's been doing a lot with the T-shirts, and there's Janine there. And Janine, welcome to the show this morning. Appreciate you coming on. And we know you and Anita and a bunch of other folks have really been pushing those T-shirts to try and get some money together for folks to get gift cards. So why don't you give us an update on how that's going? Oh, all right. We can't hear Janine. We were hoping to run through this smoothly, but we're giving it a shot here. She's gonna see if she can turn that around. We don't have any sound yet. Do you hear us, Steve?
I hear you, not her.
Okay. How are you doing now, Janine? No, we can't hear you now. So we'll let you work on that and bring Bob back in. If he could give us an idea. Bob, give us an idea what you thought of the Trump administration's, or I guess it's everybody in Washington, the big package that they approved last night and signed it yesterday. It seems like a lot of help is going to be sent out to a lot of people.
I really like the bipartisan approach. I really do think that the government so far, even though the folks haven't reaped the rewards yet, I think was absolutely the right thing to do. And, they're in a very, very tough position because one half of the issue is the major part of the issue is getting rid of this virus and getting rid of the epidemic and mitigating the people that are getting sick or even, dying. And the other half of it is not throwing our country into a recession. So, I mean, everybody knows that, but so I think that the $2 trillion approval was a step in the right direction, and I really applaud our government for getting that done.
And Bob, I'm going to pop Linda's question up on here so you can see it on your screen there, because I know you have an answer for that one. So,
So, so our food, my our kitchen manager and our chef and a couple of people that are in charge of that. We went through all of our freezers. We've actually done a really deep clean the first 3 days that we were closed, where I was able to hang on to some people, and we donated to the Baptist Church, Fort Myers Beach, the things that were going to expire in the next 3-4 days. We lost a significant amount of food that we just weren't able to do anything with, and unfortunately, our insurance isn't covering that because of some stipulation within the contract or whatever. But you know what? I'm really not focusing on the financials right now. I'm really focusing on the community coming together, and Fort Myers Beach is resilient, and
Yep.
and everybody is really coming together. And I went to the restaurant yesterday just to check on the building, and it is, Steve's right. I mean, the town is empty. I've never seen it like that in the 50 years that I've lived here. So yeah, so I'm really for quarantining as much as you can, and also 100% social distance.
Got it. All right, Bob, stand by. Let's give Janine another shot and see if we got the microphone on there. How you doing, Janine? Can you hear us okay now? All right. We still can't hear you. I don't know what that is. We had you on the other night and it seemed to be working fine. So Steve, I don't know. Do you hear Janine, or is it just me?
No, is something on mute?
Yeah, she
Maybe
might
one
have,
of your setting on mute.
Do you think I'm doing it? Let me see if I'm doing it. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Try her one more time. Let's see. Can we hear Janine? Give it a shot. Janine, turn your volume up on your phone. If you're using your phone, try the volume. We'll see if that works. Nope, that is so weird. We had her on the other night. All right, let's get Bob in here one last time, and then we'll let him go. He's got tons of things to do. So Bob, any other thoughts on when you need to be back in business? When you want? I mean, obviously everybody wants to be back in business tomorrow. But what do you hear? Are you hearing anything about when it might end and when you might be able to go back there, even on a limited basis? Are you hearing anything?
No, we're not hearing anything, and we're just really watching every newscast we can from Governor DeSantis, and we're watching the national news, daily, and we're going to be up and running just as soon as we're allowed to. But we're really, I think we're trying to prioritize the health aspect and not the financial aspect, even though, believe me, we can't hang on forever, but we really want to beat this disease and get on with this, just like everybody else.
Hey,
Steve,
Bob.
any questions for Bob? Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob, it looks like with the restaurants and businesses closing down, especially the restaurants, looks like the owners are taking advantage of the time off to spruce things up and, touch things up around checking sanitation standards, cleaning, scrubbing, painting, and all those types of things that maybe you couldn't get done as much if you were open for full business. Is that correct?
That's what we tried to do. I mean, with the few people that I was able to hang on to, we've done a deep clean. The restaurant, I think it's in its 48-year existence, has never been cleaner. I have some managers that are painting and doing some different things. But yeah, this is a great time to get things, because restaurants are 24/7, and there's really no time to get this stuff done, especially during season. So this really has helped us that way.
I appreciate your comment just a little bit ago about the island being dead. I mean, you're right. When you get around, either ride a bike, go up and down a stair in your car, or circle the island in a boat. I mean, there's just no activity. It's just very, very quiet out there. So I think the government's request for people to stay home and back off for a while, it's working. So if that's what they were hoping to see, I hope they're seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, listen, I know it's tough for these business owners equally as much for the, our customers. I mean, people want a place to go and unfortunately, I think around the country, you're going to see some bankruptcies and things. It's not everybody has a ton of money in the bank, and right now I'm really focusing on our employees, the community, whatever we can do to help with this crisis and try to put everybody back on their feet and rolling again. This came at a hell of a time during the season, but it is what it is, and we're going to bounce back. And I do think, being a local myself, that when it does, when it does end, I think there's going to be a heck of a party going on. So,
Yes.
that's
It's
what I
so
think.
funny. It's so funny you say that, Bob, because you hear these news stories about this is going to change how the way people do things. They're going to work from home more, and it's going to be a whole new world. And I think that's such BS, because people are not going to be able to get out of the house fast enough for the closest bar or restaurant or party that they can find. And I don't know. I think that the key to a marriage sometimes is not being in the same office working every single day. I think it really sometimes it's good for us to be apart. Maybe I'm just talking about myself here, or Kim speaking for her, but I don't believe that for a second. And my biggest hope is that all those businesses on the beach are able to survive this and get the bridge loans and the the money that they need so that they can all stay in business, and that this doesn't cripple them, so that when everything does go back to normal, it's not a completely different look.
The one, Ed, you talked about it earlier in the week on your Facebook page, but I guess one of the more refreshing things that we've seen is that being locked down, the sports scene being shut down, the American public has found out very quickly that they can do without the athletes and the actors and all that, and maybe put more appreciation in what the everyday folks do: the grocery store workers, the truck drivers, the nurses and doctors, and that's who we really need: the farmers and the growers. And maybe maybe sports plays a lesser role in our life, and that's not a bad thing.
All right, Bob. Thanks so much for your time, man, and I hope to see you soon down there. And so Shuckers is closed until further notice. Any parting shots?
No, just want everybody to be well and practice safety, and I think just listen to the guidelines of our government and state and local leaders, and let's be smart about this thing.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming on. See you soon.
Okay, thanks.
All right, everybody. Bob Ferreira, the managing partner of Shuckers. We appreciate his time. We're going to see if we can pull Janine in there. Janine, how we doing now? All right, Janine, we still can't hear you, which is totally wacky, because we did have you on using the same kind of setup with your phone last time. But there was a question, and I don't know if you can type it in the chat box, that where can people buy the shirts? So we know there's a website, and if you could type that in the chat box so people can know. And the shirt we're talking about is the one that Janine's wearing, in the green shirts that say #FMB, and that money is going toward the folks that were hopefully only temporarily out of a job on the beach, and they're buying them gift cards so that they can be taken care of as much as possible during this time. So have you gotten your shirt, Steve?
No. And I saw, I think Janine or somebody, it might have been Anita, posted a comment on Facebook the other day saying that most of the shops are up and down Fort Myers Beach don't have them, or the shops are closed, that they are available on the website. You can order there. And then they mentioned Fishtail Marina. Well, I was at Fishtail Marina 2 days ago. They only had 3 shirts in there, 2 large and an extra large, and they were essentially out. But
Gotcha.
Fishtail only allows 1 person in the store at a time, but they are out of shirts. So it'd be really, really good if somehow we can get shirts out with better availability, and right. Or maybe people just go to the website and order it there.
And Cheryl's right. You can also donate, and the website, I'm hoping that Janine can pop that up there, and you can go in there and you can donate, or I guess you You can drop a check off to Town Hall and address it to Ray Murphy. He said that last week. If you drop a check off to them, he's going to make sure it gets to the right person. If you want to give some money to your favorite waitress or bartender or employee, so you can drop that off at Town Hall. I guess the best thing to do would be slide it under the door when nobody's there, right? I mean, who knows what the best thing to do is anymore. So right now we're going to bring on our next guest. He is the town councilman-elect coming up on April 6th. Now, whether or not that they have a meeting for that, we're not really even sure. And I know that normally they'll have all the new council members come into Town Hall and their family will be there and they'll do a nice ceremony, but everything's out the window right now. Bill Veach joins us from Fort Myers Beach. Bill, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Ed?
Doing great. First of all, congratulations on being elected. How was election night for you? What was going on?
Well, we were planning on having a big party, and it turned out to be a party of two. So
Right.
it was pretty much any other day now that we're all stuck inside.
Now, were you when the results came in? What were your thoughts? Did you think it ended the way you thought it would, or were you surprised by anything?
Yeah, there was probably a couple of things that were, they were kind of, I guess, still up in the air. You never know. It isn't like they do tracking polling or anything like that with our little town. So, I guess it's kind of like I thought it would be.
And so what have you heard so far about the April 6th meeting? Is it up in the air still, or do you think that they'll push it back, or what have you heard?
Well, I think the plan is to have, it's a really important meeting because, the old council, they're done and they need to be relieved of their duties, get a break, especially, like everybody's been going through a lot. Anita's been, working 24/7 on this. So we need to get the new council sworn in. There's a few different options of that. One is, you can, and we're working through that to see what everybody wants to do. And one of those is just to do everything virtually. So do it by, like we're doing here today.
And so what are your thoughts? Well, first question is you live on the beach. Like if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, you can walk out the back and be on the beach.
Well, according to my understanding of the law, I can't go all the way in my backyard, but I can see the beach, certainly. And for the most part, it's quiet. Occasionally, there's people who go out there walking by. They either, like you said, either don't know or don't care. Usually around sunset, there's a cluster, but Beach Patrol and the sheriff have been riding up and down there, keeping people off the beach.
And as far as I know, there haven't been any tickets issued. It's been, hey, get off the beach, please, or maybe you've heard otherwise. Have there been any tickets issued that you know of?
They haven't told me of any. I would be surprised. I think it's kind of like a lot of rules on the beach. It's like if you're drunk and belligerent, then they'll write you up for having that beer. If you're belligerent about not wanting to get off the beach, maybe they'll write you up. But I haven't heard of anything. I know the sheriff is out there too. So the sheriff has a lot more authority than our guys do.
So, Bill, what is your opinion on how you think the town government, the county government, and the federal government have been handling this situation?
Well, I've read a lot about countries that have done well with this and countries that haven't, and a lot of it has to do with the society in general. We have a cousin who lives in Singapore, and Singapore is like Manhattan. It's a very densely populated city-state, and they have a lot of contacts with China, but their shops and their restaurants have been open the whole time. They've had their second death recently, and they're worried about an increase in the rate, but they've essentially flattened that curve, as they say. And the way they've done it is they've told their people, don't shake hands, keep your distance, wear masks, sanitizers, all those basic hygiene rules, and people obey. People didn't gather in groups. They were very conscientious about it because that's the Singaporean society. Of course, we're here in the U.S., right? And we are a nation of stubborn individualists. That's one of our greatest assets and probably one of our curses when something like this happens. So, probably the time to really be rushing to build ventilators and masks and this kind of thing was in January when we first knew this was coming. So now we're kind of playing catch up on that, which is a shame. And I think that, we probably need hard rules because a lot of people don't listen, and it doesn't take much for to get this to spread. And as an example, I was reading a story about there's a town in Austria, ski town, and they have a really great. They're known for their après-ski, people dancing on tables. It's a great party scene. Now they're finding clusters of outbreak all over Europe from people who were in this town at that bar. So it doesn't take much. And they're saying now that even closing frontiers in Europe is just too late because the disease is everywhere. So now we're really left with just individuals, being home, doing the right thing. And that takes some enforcement because there's still people who are getting together in groups.
So, Bill, we watching these county meetings with Lee County and Collier County, they're struggling with shutting down so much where the businesses, they have to close and trying to figure out what's essential and what's not essential. And they're basically looking up to the governor, who it seemed like everybody was so supportive of until the point where he didn't shut the state down. And then all of a sudden it was, hey, we're looking for some leadership here. And then it seemed like the president was trying to get everything cleared up by Easter Sunday. And so do you think that the state needs to shut down for a certain amount of time? What's your thought on that?
Well, it's a very difficult decision. And, it's one of those things where your guests have pointed out that you have economic reasons, you have health reasons. But the reality is health and the economy are linked. And the harder we shut down, the faster we can control this. And the less people will suffer. There's already, the damage on the economy has already been inflicted. And now, the people who they call essential, is pretty broad. Construction workers are considered essential. And they call them essential because they figure that they can work 6 feet apart. So I'm not really, how hard do you want to shut things down? We can only do so much as a local municipality because, we can't control the bridge. That's not our bridge. It's not our road. It's a county road. So, I think we need as harder rules as we can stand for to make this as short a time as possible. I think the idea of 2 weeks, everything I read, that we'll still be, we won't even be peaking by then. So, especially with the rules as they are. So I can't see 2 weeks back to normal. I've heard anywhere from, we're 3-4 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks from peak. And then that's when we have the most infectious people running around. And then after that, it has to go down, and then you have to keep some controls on in order to keep it from popping back up. Did we lose Jed?
Yeah. Facebook for logging in, saying they appreciate your perspective and your comments, and I certainly do. I guess the like you said, it's a very difficult question to ask and even more difficult to answer without knowing all the facts, and no one knows all the facts. So you just have to sit back and wait and see what the test results showed. That more people are being tested now, so of course there have been more positive testing results showing up. But yeah, it's I guess one of the other problems is you have people like me and everybody else around town. You hear something on the radio or you read something on a website, and then you go out and you repost it, and none of us know really what's going on. I'm not sure that other than the doctors and scientists, I don't know anybody really knows exactly what's going on. So I wish people would stop making such dramatic statements one way or the other. Let the professionals take care of it, and then follow their lead. And whatever the government asks us to do, whatever the community asks us to do, then we definitely should go out and support those decisions and do it. And that's really all we can do.
And I'm really, of all the aspects of the economy, our island economy is so tourist based that it was inevitable that we were going to take the brunt of this early on. They said that 1 in 4 people have lost their jobs, over the last little bit of time. And that is a huge hit. But, I think it's kind of like a Band-Aid thing. You can pull it off slow or you can rip it off. And the faster we can get control of this, the faster that we can get past it. And that's important. And I think, I know it was a really difficult decision for the previous council to decide to, close the beach and do these measures. I think it was the right decision. I think it's going to be harder to decide when to relax those rules because, people are suffering, and there can be a strong drive to open things up. But our economy is still going to be tourist based. It's going to be a very difficult decision, and we don't want to be the first beach to open because we know what happens. But everybody and their brother will be coming to our beach and affecting our residents and spreading the disease further.
What could have possibly been done early on? I'm talking 2-3 weeks ago when the guidelines first started to come out, and Fort Myers Beach, Lee County asked people to keep groups 10 and under, but yet we saw examples around the island where that was either totally ignored or largely ignored, and there were large groups gathering in front of hotels and restaurants and whatnot for St. Patrick's Day. I mean, what could have been done, law enforcement wise? What could have been done back then? I mean, could law enforcement have been stricter? Could the town council have stepped up and made people adhere to the rules?
Hindsight is a difficult thing. I mean, we did know this was coming, but it was also, every week earlier would have shut things down, would have been more devastating to our local economy. In hindsight, if we would have shut down earlier, we could be getting past this thing faster, flattening that curve. And like you said, time will tell. They've said that, and I understand what you're saying about, a lot of people have opinions on this, but they say that the virus will set the timeline. We can make all kinds of projections and promises, but the virus is the one who's going to set this timeline. We have some control over that by how we act individually. I think that a lot of this, people didn't take it very seriously, and I don't know if there wasn't, if that's a government level or whatever else, that there wasn't that sense of urgency until this thing had already pretty much set hold. Things like shutting down flights from China, we did that, but we didn't shut down flights from Europe. There's a lot of containment we could have done. We weren't very up on testing, and there's kind of containment. And then there's another term that I heard Dr. Fauci talk about was mitigation. And so if you can contain it, that's by far the easiest, the safest way to do it. Mitigation is that's messy. That's the medical end of handling people who are sick, and we know we really are not capable of handling this number of sick people. So it could have been a better message, I think, early on to tell people to be careful. And if we were careful early on, and enforce that in some way, we probably wouldn't be where we are now.
Hey, Bill, there's been a lot of discussion in the chat box about the 39-year-old DJ that died this past week, and he did post on his Facebook page that he worked at Lani Kai on March the 10th, but he also worked at the Sky Bar. He was a popular DJ. He worked in many places. He didn't work for the Lani Kai. So I'm not jumping on them for this particular thing, but there is a possibility that on the 10th, if he did have, whatever causes it to be spread, that could be a serious problem. I mean, you just don't know if it seems like the news report today confirmed that that's what he died of. Earlier on, it didn't, you couldn't really be sure, but at least his wife is saying that it looks like that's what the reason is. So, I mean, if people think that there are 0 cases on Fort Myers Beach, I think they're probably kidding themselves. At some point, you would think that Fort Myers Beach is not going to be the only place in America, in the world, that doesn't have, at least one case of this. And if that is the case, and that's great. But I mean, let's be realistic about it. I mean, there's probably a chance that either somebody came with it or left with it or something like that. It just seems like it's happening in every market.
Well, we've heard a lot now about spring breakers that were, told to go home. Well, they did go home, and now they've taken the virus home with them to their campuses and whatnot. And
they're apologizing for the way they acted. If you see some of them posting on their social media pages that they're not from Fort Myers, the Miami crowd, more than Fort Myers, but
right.
I mean, so do you think we're going to see something on Fort Myers Beach, Bill? I mean, have you heard of anybody? There was a report in one of the papers that said there was one case down there, but I don't know if that was accurate.
Well, there, and I told my volunteers to not man the polling stations on election day, just out of caution. And and I'm married to a nurse, so the health aspect is told to me with great persistency, should I say. But I told them not to go. And on election day, 2 of my volunteers and supporters were sick, and they were sick with flu-like symptoms, including a fever. Now, one was told that she can't get tested because she didn't have any direct contact with China or any proven contact with anybody who had tested positive, even though she worked in the tourist industry and was around people all the time. Another went to her doctor, got tested for the flu, came back negative, and her doctor never came back in to see her after that. They put the note under her door and made her schedule a COVID-19 test, and she still hasn't gotten the results, last I heard. So it's due in a few more days. So if she has it, she still, neither of those 2 would know. Now, they do say that only like 10% of the people who are being tested are coming up positive, which could mean that there's a lot of false alarms. It also could mean that something wrong with our testing strategy, that who we're testing are not the best people to test. So I would be surprised if there's not a case on Fort Myers Beach. And the greater question is people who work on Fort Myers Beach, the community that works here, which is much greater than the community that lives here. That I bet there's cases out there too, because they were engaging with the public from all over the world.
Now, Bill, you're a numbers guy. You understand that better than some people. When you see this model that they're talking about, the health officials brought a model to Lee County, and they brought a model, I think, to Collier County, and the stats are off the charts. Like, we're going to be overrun and bombarded with patients, and I mean, I'm not doubting that. It's just how do you know what's true and what's not true based on a model that they just created 6 weeks ago?
Well, a lot of it, the testing deficiencies make it difficult. I think a lot of the information comes from other places, but they have they categorize viruses in 2 ways. One is how easy it's passed on. They call it R naught. So R naught, the number of R naught is how many people will get the disease for everyone that currently has it. And I heard the number for this is anywhere between 2 and 3. And that basically means a doubling like in the case of New York, it was like every 3 days something they were doubling. And now they've got it to 5 or 6. So imagine, right now we have 89 cases in Lee County. Okay, let's say 100 cases. If you double that every 5 days, and you take that out 3-4 weeks, you're talking thousands in our county. So it's just the number, when you double and double and double and double, as the number just goes off the chart in a hurry. And then the more people are out there, the more they can get sick. What tends to limit it is, number one, people do better social distancing to not be close to people who are infected. And the other, the pool of people who have never been infected gets smaller and smaller, which is the worst case scenario.
And Patricia, I wish you were on here so you could kind of explain. I don't know if you can see that comment there, Bill, that Ohio has real models and the governor has shown leadership. I think maybe she's saying that Florida's governor hasn't shown leadership. What do you think of the decision or lack of decision to go totally stay at home that the governor's made or hasn't made, Bill? What do you think about that?
Well, I think they're honestly, I think they're putting off the inevitable. Unless there's some, because most of the treatments they're talking about with this, they are kind of like, generic virus treatments where they help your body defend against the virus. They're somewhat effective. They're like the flu shot. But a vaccine is another whole bird. And, they're talking about this thing will probably run its course by the time we have some kind of vaccine. So, I'm not going to sit here and say I support one thing or another, because that can give you trouble if it comes up from council. But stronger actions will save lives, and they'll get business back to normal sooner.
We lost Bill's picture, but we can still hear you, Bill. So, Steve, you got a question for Bill?
No.
No questions. Bill, if you can, you still there, Bill?
I'm still here. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we can't see you, but we can hear you. So, the question I had for you is, when you get on the council, when that new council gets rolling, is this the one issue that's going to totally dominate everything, or do you think you guys will be able to talk about some other issues, and what are the top three that you want to get on the table right away?
Well, I think things are going to be limited. It depends on how well this whole virtual thing works. I'm sure that the other counselors have things they want to do, but obviously this is going to dominate. I don't know how many arrows we have in our quiver for this at this point. I think that the previous council have done a lot of the hard work, but there are other things that I think we want to do and we can do. For the people who are have businesses in Times Square, I know that they need to tear up Times Square and they need to do some utility work under there. And construction companies are somewhat limited to how they can work on these things. But now would be a really good time to do that. If we can get some of this work going now, when we're already impacting the Times Square merchants, so when they don't come back to reopen and have the square in disarray. I think that's an important thing that is timely that we can work on. And then there's other projects that if they don't need to be done, they may be deferred for a while. That's even some of the public hearings. My understanding is that if there's not a real sense of urgency, then they're going to be put on the back burner.
Do you think that dune walkover is going to come up again before your new council there?
Well, if you know me, I don't believe it's a dune walkover. Because a dune walkover protects the primary dune. It's like what you see at Times Square. That's a dune walkover. What they're doing is it travels 290 some odd feet and then ends where the dune walkover starts. Yeah. So it's a bridge over a lagoon. They're saying one thing, they're posturing one way, and they're saying another. And if this is something if this is now in some kind of legal proceeding, then I think I probably should not comment on it, even though I haven't been a part of that yet. So maybe I'll leave it at that.
All right. So any other major issues? Let me backtrack here. Do you want to see the Shrimp Festival pushed into this year? You want to see it happen this year at maybe the 4th of July, if that's when the world is back open, or another date, or would you just rather just try and plan for next year?
I'm not sure. It's such a great tradition, and it's one of my favorite days on the beach because it's when all the locals act like tourists and start drinking in the morning. But there's a lot of people getting together. Thing about getting life back to normal is you have to cherry pick, and getting 40,000 people shoulder to shoulder lining the street, it's a problem. It's going to be a problem in July. It's going to be a problem until we get a vaccine. So I'm not sure if that's feasible. I think that the low hanging fruit would be allowing people to walk the beach, give them a reason to come here, and to be able to get the restaurants back open and with reasonable occupancy. I think that's that's going to be the priority over a big party.
How devastating do you think this whole thing is going to be to the Fort Myers Beach area and the businesses and everything that we typically get during a season that was kind of cut short?
Well, timing was a little awkward for this because this is like the best month of the year. And I understand how the seasonal work goes. That this is when people make their bank, and then they basically, money trickles out during the off season. But once this month is over, we're going to be getting into a low time of the year. But I'm an optimist. I think inherently I'm an optimist. But I think when you're planning your business, and these guys who have these restaurants, and I really do feel for them, that they've got to, you got to hope for the best and plan for the worst. And so, if they're coming up with a strategy that is a 2-3 week closure strategy, they're going to be in trouble if it goes on for 2-3 months. So I think that everybody's got to be as cautious as they can. The way I've been trying to follow some of this bill, and of course anything comes out of Congress is massive, and there's all kinds of hidden things, and there's pork, and there's a lot of unsavory things in there. But it seems like the big thing is, everybody's got to share this pain. You probably have to let employees go and let them claim unemployment, which I know that, we have these mom and pop shops everywhere and employees are like family, and it's just heartbreaking to have to do that. But that's where the aid is. To try to pay people if you don't have really deep pockets, that gets to be a problem. The other thing is, if you're a business and you hold a mortgage, talk to your bank. If you have a landlord, talk to your landlord and have the landlord talk to the bank. Get everybody to defer the payments, try to get the expenses as low as they possibly can, because like I said, I love the mom and pop shops. I love these little restaurants, like Peach Time Out and Tuckaway and, all these up and down little shops. But they are the most vulnerable. They don't have a huge bankroll behind them usually. And so, I'd hate to see these places go out of business. One thing I think is a good idea, I was pushing to get the takeout thing going as much as we can, but I realized that that's just a small sliver of business. It's not enough really to keep these places going. But one thing I think we can all do is to show some faith in the businesses and buy some gift cards now.
Yeah.
Even when the restaurants are closed, it's a way to show your support. You may lose your money, but if you do, your pain is a lot less than the guy or girl who's got that business. So
yeah, you're right, because the first thing that I did when this whole thing happened was you cancel the bug guy, you cancel the lawn guy who's spraying your lawn, and you cancel the gym. I didn't cancel the gym membership, that got canceled on me, but you find everything that it's $20 a month, $30 a month, but you're in a panic mode, and at the same time you're killing a local business because everybody's doing the same thing and they're trying to stay in business. So it's just a cycle that hopefully doesn't last very long.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't last very long, or everyone cooperates, because if you've got a landlord who's going to insist on getting rent from everybody, he's going to end up with a lot of vacancies, and if he has a lot of vacancies, then he's going to end up having trouble with his mortgage. So, everyone's got to share this to really get through it. You can't put it on just these business owners, and including our residents.
So, Bill, this is the thing about being live at home. When I take myself off the screen, it's because I have to let the dogs out. But everybody's got a dog in their house or kids in their house, which makes it kind of nice. But Bill, Steve, any final questions for Bill before we let him? I don't know. What do you do on a Saturday, Bill, when you can't go out of the house? What is your plan today?
Well, one thing I've noticed, a lot of people, a lot of my neighbors and stuff. Well, one thing, all those things that your wife wants you to do that you've been saying you didn't have time to do, now you're kind of that excuse doesn't work anymore. The other is, I like little projects that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm trying to get a new CD out. I'm trying to get a CD out for the band. Trying to keep up on the stuff coming up with council. I had a bunch of leftover tile from 10 years of remodeling projects, and I made like a weird mosaic on a landing in the garage just because I can.
Wow. All righty. So, are you going to have any time to play still, being that you're going to be on the town council? There's still going to be time to jam?
Oh, sure.
Always time for that. Steve, any questions for Bill?
No.
Right, Steve, well, you got to put in a little more work here, Steve. You got to come up with some questions or something. I mean,
you're letting the dogs out. Steve was holding down the show there.
Yeah, so back to the Shrimp Festival, Bill. Ed's question was, could we do it later in the year? I guess the problem there is until the government frees us up to go out. I mean, it takes so much planning and so much effort to schedule things for the Shrimp Festival or any large festival. By the time we get word that you can go out of your house and and you're back to normal. Then you start your planning, because it's impossible to plan when you don't know that date. So it seems to me it would push it way back in the year, if at all, maybe the September, October timeframe. But how would you plan for any festival if you don't even know when we can start doing things?
Tough.
Well, like we said before, the virus is setting the timeline, and it's not really talking. It's not letting us know its plans. I think that really you just got to kind of wait and see on that stuff. And, my feeling is that once we start opening up, there's going to be a lot of pent up desire to come down to the beach, because, we are so much a part of the greater area here, and there will be businesses. And I think it's more important for us to get customers in the businesses at a reasonable level and get them up and running again, get people back to their jobs, than it is to have a big celebration that could set us back. with this virus. And I haven't really talked with the Lions Club very much. I know this is a huge tradition, but we want to be around next year to really do it again. So that's my feeling.
So, Bill, last question. We'll let you go. Do more tile. Who should be the next mayor of Fort Myers Beach? Because it's whoever it is, it's going to be a tough act to follow. Because Anita's been hitting home runs for a long time.
Yeah, I really can't comment on that because it's something that's going to come up to a vote. I understand. I'm not even really aware how this process works, whether there's a discussion or just someone jumps up and makes a motion. So I don't know. I'm going to defer that because that is something that will come up before council.
And any thoughts on how Anita's been doing?
Yeah, Anita's great. I mean, there's not really much more you can say about it. She is, it's so powerful when she was moving to close the shrimp festival, and she's a business person, and she knows so many people that are in business, but then to look at people and say, how can I tell strangers it's okay to come here for the shrimp festival, but not the people I love? She's got a huge heart. She's not going anywhere. I talk to her regularly. We've got a project that I'm not going to go on, but it's not a political project that we're going to do, a little musical thing. So, she's going to be around. She's still a very powerful and connected woman. So, whatever happens, she's going to be around, and she's the heartbeat of this community.
Bill, thanks so much. Good luck in your 4 years and 6 months that you'll be on the council.
Oh, man. I know. I was kind of signing up for the shorter term there.
I tried to help you out with that, but it didn't work.
Yeah, well, I understand. I'm surprised it got voted in by such a large margin. I know that's something that Anita supported, but hey, it is what it is. You'll be great. You'll be great. You play the cards you're dealt.
All right, man. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much for coming on.
Okay, you too. Take care, guys.
All right, everybody. Bill Veach, the town councilman-elect. Let me see. Oh, there you go. Steve, if you put a hat on that bald spot you got there that's shining off the light, you'll be able to lose that if you get one of these hats here.
I'm looking pretty haggardly. I got to find it. Look at this. I got to find it more. I'm going to look like a
TV
skunk
camera makes you look heavier, but it sure as hell is making you look older, man. I know you're not that old, but speaking of old, let's pop up one of our favorite old people.
I need a haircut. I'm looking like a skunk ape.
Oh, of course. He's got to have the dog there. John, hopefully your microphone's working. John Lalo is on with us now. Can you hear us, John?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. So you've been sitting
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
You've been sitting in the green room there watching the show. Any thoughts to this point of what you heard?
I'm hearing a lot of, I don't know what I want to say, melancholy, depression. What are we doing? What are we doing? I think everyone's been reactive to this whole situation. And I think we got this time to sit at home and ponder, and we need to start getting proactive. How do we get open? There's some real hard questions that need to be answered by our future council. How do we go about reopening? What are the parameters? What is going to be acceptable to reopen? I know we're all waiting on the federal government saying, oh, everything's cool. The virus is going to be around for a long time. The virus is not going away. It's not going to disappear. We have to understand that a vaccine or a reliable treatment will be acceptable, and not to be heartless or anything, and an acceptable amount of deaths, like with any virus, to be accomplished, and then we can move forward. I wish Bill was still on there because I had some questions for him. I kept waving at you, but that's fine. But I really want him to really start thinking about what is our exit plan. We have to have an exit plan. Everyone's like, close down, close down. I get that. I'm totally in support of it. But when you close down, you have to have an opening plan. How are we going to open? Should we the testing and all this is It's in 1 week. It's unbelievable what this country has done with our leadership. And their mortality rate is the lowest in the world. Although it is a lot of numbers, it's still a lowest percentage in the world.
When you, John,
Do we
when you
bring
say
a testing?
when you say there needs to be a plan to open, when you don't know when this thing is going to end or when it's going to stop spreading, how can the town council know what the exit plan would be?
The thing is, we need to start focusing. We can't stop what's happening right now. You, me, Steve, Bill, our job as business leaders, community leaders, politicians locally is give hope to the people that are here getting ready to reopen 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We don't know that number, but we better have a contingency plan ready to go. Are we going back with half tables for a week, see what's going on? Do we have to test all of our employees prior to coming back into the system of serving food? I mean, these are some really hard questions, and it's hard to pull off when I know that they give free tests for the COVID right now. So before that goes away, do we require our employees to have this done? I'm sure the health board may be thinking about that, but I haven't heard from the health board since all this happened. And there's other questions like, okay, this big stimulus is coming out and everyone thinks all these businesses are going to pocket all this money. First of all, from what I'm reading, I'm kind of like in limbo here because I'm pushing my employees to get unemployment because I cannot bankroll them, cannot do it. I have X amount of dollars and I have my own requirements and obligations that I have to take care of to keep the business that's closed to be able to come back to life. So the stimulus thing's coming up and I'm encouraging my people to go on unemployment. Now, from what I've heard, it's like a 2-week process just before they give out the applications. And then it's going to be a mass rush for all these small businesses to do this. From what I'm reading right now, it's 2.5 times our average monthly payroll. That's what we will be eligible for. So therefore, if my payroll was, say, $50,000 a month average, I would be eligible for 125,000. With that money, I have to. Now, do I start paying my people again? And what are they getting in the meantime? Because unemployment, from what I heard, I've never been in the unemployment system ever in my whole life. I refuse to do it now. I'm not going to do it. I'm just a stubborn old German, but I heard that the max that they can get paid is $275 a week. Well, that's poverty level, folks. And I know everyone's scraping around and this and that, but we have real people out there suffering really. It's not suffering so bad this week. I think you're going to see it next week, the following week. It's going to chain react. I just had my top dog, Shelly Kinnan, who works for Cheney Brothers. She got laid off, and she's my go-to girl. She's the one that does my pricing and helps with all the help. You know, she's a great woman, and they had to make cuts already at Cheney Brothers. Cheney Brothers is a major food supplier. This is a domino effect that is just not going to end. And then how do you set the dominoes back up? That's where I want all of us to start focusing. And how do we get the dominoes back in the line again? Because it's not going to be like one day you just turn on a light switch and yay, the beach is packed. Because we want it to be packed, because we want to feel comfortable socializing again. I'm sure there's going to be huge changes in our world after this, just like after 9/11. There's going to be some big adjustments on how we gather. I hope it doesn't happen, but we can return back to life. And one more thing
well, I guess we're all getting an Amber Alert now. Who's that coming from? Is that coming from Steve? Is that your house too? Is
Yeah, I
everybody
think
getting
I think it's an alert on my phone.
Wow.
Probably an Amber Alert or something.
Yeah.
So I want to. I need to do a depressing shout out to my buddy David Colleton. David is in pretty serious, if not critical condition in the hospital. Dave is one of the musicians I first hired in 2012. And as you guys all know, he's been suffering from colon cancer, and just everyone just say a prayer for him. His wife can't see him. Tough times right now, guys.
It's yeah, it's a tough thing. Is he a young man, John?
No, he's in his 50s, but
He's a young man.
it's just, yeah. And I'm sorry. He's just a good. He's a fabulous man, great entertainer, and if y'all got to hear Six Beer Betty one time, you're blessed. Believe me, he wrote the song. It's the most hilarious song you'll ever hear, and we hope he can play it again someday. But right now, he needs all of our prayers to get through this, because he's been fighting this for years now. We've had benefits for him to help him out the best we can. He's recently just been married 2 years ago. They met at Pete's Timeout. Rebecca was one of my bartenders at the time, and she fell in love with this older guy, and they just hit it off, and it was great, man. And it's just, my heart goes out to Rebecca. She works up at Nick and Stella's. So if you see her picking up a to-go order or something, throw her an extra 20 or something, because she is going through what you think we all got it bad. She's got it bad because she has no income now other than 3 hours a day, and losing her husband at the same time, possibly, but hopefully he pulls through. So anyways, let's try to
Hey, John.
My buddy Dave, the jammer. You there?
The other employees that are currently out of work. There are some industries out there that are hiring. Not many, but some. I cannot speak for Publix or Walmart or Costco or anybody like that, but I can speak for my company up north that I retired from. We had 25 retail stores up in St. Louis. That's a grocery industry and a grocery market. They're hiring on the spot. So usually there's a long screening process. It takes forever to get hired. You jump through hoops and all that stuff. They can't keep up and can't keep the shelves stocked and can't get people through the checkout lane. So essentially people are walking in saying, hey, I was this or I was that and I'm out of work. They're hiring them on the spot. So hopefully, what's happening in St. Louis is happening down here too. And maybe there are a couple industries out there that will hire, and they need you now. So, when this thing breaks loose and everybody goes back to their normal jobs, the grocery industry won't need those people anymore. So they can turn them loose and they go back to the regular job. So it would seem to work for everybody.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I can only lead so much while they're under my employment. Right now, this is a free-for-all. I hope that we all make it through it. I hope that I can have all my employees return. They're all wonderful people. I delivered each of their payroll checks to their house personally on Wednesday. My wife and I drove pretty much 120 miles in Lee County from way out in Northwest Cape all the way down to Fort Myers Beach to the villas, and just did the big loop, and really appreciated what it was. Really a wake-up call. And I always known that, I have one girl that passes up 700 restaurants on the way into work on Fort Myers Beach. And I always say, you're nuts. Why wouldn't you get a job somewhere in between? And she goes, because I love working for you, John. And it just means so much. And Angela has been with us for many years. She used to live in South Naples when she first started. And I was like, you're crazy. But she's done this for years and years, for I think it's almost 8, 9 years now. And it just makes you appreciate what your employees really do to get to work. They could stop off and get a job anywhere along the way, but they're very dedicated. They love the beach. They are the beach too, even though they don't live there. They are part of the beach. And
hey, John, you're a big Trump fan. You don't hide it in any way. Are you satisfied? You satisfied with the way things are being handled at the national level?
I'm so proud of our president and his resilience.
I agree.
And it's just, you know what? If it was Obama doing the same thing, I would be proud of him too. He is our president. Everyone's got to put this bipartisan stuff away. You didn't hear me whine or anything when Obama was the president. I'm not a big Democrat. Although I post a lot of stuff just to shake people up. But the gentleman is unbelievably relentless and just keep going. I mean, who works that hard and still is in the public? Sure, he messes up and shouldn't talk when he should. He's got all the best people in the world all around him, but yet he's got to blow off and say something stupid, and then everyone jumps on that. But he's only a man, guys, and he is one hell of a man doing everything he possibly can to save our country from this pandemic and try to keep it all together and protect our country, because right now we are very vulnerable. And they don't talk about this right now, but he keeps reassuring that our armed forces are strong and don't even think about it. So,
yeah. Kim's dad just threw up in his mouth, but what is your thought on how the governor is handling things?
Was a huge Ron DeSantis fan until this week. I just think that he's getting some pressure from behind the scenes not to pull the trigger. And I can't understand why, because you can't say Trump, because Trump's supporting New York and all these other places doing it too.
True.
We're the third largest state in this country for population, and it explodes with tourism. I just cannot understand why. I mean, we could be so far ahead of this game. We could be 1 week ahead of this game. And the sooner they pull the plug, the sooner we can heal. And
so you think the state's going to go on lockdown's not the right word, but total mandatory stay at home?
I don't know if it's mandatory stay at home, but it's just like, we got to stop the visitors from coming. We seem to be the sugar hill, and all the ants keep coming. And I don't
shut down the airport. Is that what you're saying? Shut down the airport?
You need to do essential flights only. I mean, shutting down the airport's not going to cure it. You just need to evaluate who's coming and going. And you know what? This can be done at our county level too. And I believe that's what DeSantis was hoping for. And I was extremely disappointed in our county commission. It was like watching Daniel Negreanu call out a hand in a poker and still call and lose all his chips. I mean, they know the answer and they wouldn't do it. And now they're like, oh, we'll give it another weekend. You know what? You just left the sugar on the table. The ants will keep it coming. They keep it coming. So they can do this at a local level also. And our beach can do it too. I'm just one guy. That's my opinion. I really try to make intelligent decisions. Sometimes I goof up. I might be wrong. I don't know.
Hey, John, what's frustrating? What's frustrating is a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, DeSantis mandated that any inbound flight with any New York passenger that came into the area should be quarantined for 14 days. But there's no teeth. But there's no teeth in it, and from evidently what I'm hearing is they're not even being screened at the airport. So, I mean, what good does it do to say quarantine yourself for 14 days if there's no teeth in it and they're not enforcing it? And I'm not sure how you can enforce it.
I don't think you can. It's slowing the intelligent people from coming down. You're still going to have the wackos. We had people show up last Saturday while we were just barely open. And I'm like, well, where are you from? They go, Michigan. I go, how old are you? And he goes, 14. the other one, 16, 18, and a 24-year-old, all guys. And I said, do y'all not see the news? And they're like, well, we didn't know. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to get on a flight and go back home. You need to do the right thing and not become part of the problem. And I hope they took my advice. They were not guests of the Lani Kai, not to bash the Lani Kai or anything. They were just down here trying to escape the crap they were in up in Michigan.
Right.
Because we had the sugar. You understand what I'm saying? So the word has gotten out. The beach is dead. I mean, what is compliancy? 100%? You're never, ever, ever going to achieve 100%. What I see on the beach is total manageable control of crowds now. They're very, very, very manageable. I'll bet that the people listening is 95%. You're always going to have 5% of people that just rebel or are ignorant. And that's that. There's nothing else you can do. And natural selection will take its way.
So John, what are you guys doing? I mean, what is it? You're staying at home. So what is your weekend plan? What do you do when you stay at home?
Right. Well, I've never worked so hard for no pay in my life, Ed. I have toured. The first thing we did is totally bleach the whole place with a 50 ppm water bleach solution, every box, every square centimeter of the place. That's the first thing we did. Just went around with a spray bottle on everything, you know, like one of them little pump things you use in your yard. And it's been very effective. Took all the bathrooms, every handle, every square inch. So now we know, we let it sit for 12, 14 hours, went in the next day, and now we can touch things because we don't know who was in there. You know, we have people coming in for to-goes and this and that. It's like, I've totally disinfected the whole place. Now we tore it all apart. I brought every stool home. I brought every chair home. I brought every table home. I brought every trash can home. Tore apart the walk-in cooler, cleaned it thoroughly out, putting it back together. Every cooler has been bleached. Every bottle has been with the solution. So if you touch a bottle, you're not going to pick up the virus. Every box, everything. The place is spotless and it is just waiting. I got a couple tables being repaired right now that were on the porch. A buddy of mine's doing it. And what's hard is it's like, this is the time you have to do things just like Bob and Stacy, but we're putting out money that we have to do it because there is going to be an end to this and we are going to be open and the future is bright, guys. We're going to be all right.
So
we just got to get through.
Let me ask you this, which I thought was insane when I heard it explained to me that you're not really, at this point, you're not accumulating any garbage. So you shouldn't have to pay for garbage collection. Yet the garbage company will not allow you out of the payment that you have to make because you're not totally shut down. In other words, you have to prove to them your power is off before you can totally get out of that bill. Is that true?
Okay, so let me educate you on that. Lee County, and this is not a bad thing, Ed. So let's just think this out. Lee County forces every property owner in this county to have garbage service. They contracted out. My contractor is Advanced Disposal with a contract. You would have the plague going on if you allowed people to cancel their garbage. You have to have some garbage. I understand that Pete's Timeout is not open. I did produce a can this week though in my cleanup. There's a gentleman, Ron Clayton, who's in charge of our account and stuff, and they are just swamped with calls because people are cutting back. He said, if your utilities, the rule is in the contract, and this is the law of our county commission, our county, And they are just the contractor going by their contract and the law. So you can't blame advanced disposal. If you think you need a relievement, then you have to go to the county and plead your case. But the rule is, if you don't have all your utilities shut down, therefore you are under our county ordinance or whatever it may be, liable to have a garbage pickup. Now listen, I went from two recycles and 2 garbage, 6 days a week pickup, cost over $1,100, $1,200. Ron says, look, here's what I can do. I can do the minimum. Boom, 1 pickup a week. I said, deal. I don't have to fight with the county. On to the next problem. There's nothing I can do. I'm not going to fight this. It is what it is. And hopefully it's just 1 month or 2 months. I mean, it's not going to make or break us, believe me. We need garbage pickup, guys. That's
all right. Well, I just don't want. I want to make sure that all the information is out there. If there's no producing of garbage because businesses are closed, why should the businesses be charged? But if you explain it and you're happy with it, then that's cool.
Well, I mean, if anyone wants to debate me on it, feel free to start commenting. But that's how I understood it, and I didn't fight with Ron. Ron has been a great friend of Fort Myers Beach. Times Square, when we had to convert from the town picking up the garbage to them, they reinvented the wheel of how they pick up garbage just for Times Square. So I'm not going to argue with Ron Clayton.
John,
he's a wonderful man, and he did a great job.
John,
good.
Roger Hernstad has been doing an unbelievably great job throughout all of this.
He's earned his 180,000 finally, huh?
Yeah. You know,
I'm telling you, Roger has been such a gem, and I can call him anytime. I don't call him anytime. I usually go through Anita because they always have a conference every day. And then if they feel they need to talk to me or something about anything, they just call me. I'm here for them. Roger, keep up the great work you're doing.
Well, he's not watching this show, so you don't have to worry about that. But
he'll get the word. He'll get the word.
I just want to make sure.
It's called the Coconut Telegraph. He'll get the word. And you know what? You don't always have to like your town manager, but guess what? If he's doing his job, you got no reason to hate him.
Same goes for the county manager. When you watch the county committee, I mean, it's just such new ground for everybody. It's craziness.
I mean, it's just all been thrown in his lap because think about it. The council is the legislation problem. I mean, or that's their issue is to make policy. Roger's job is to enforce that policy. If you don't like it, don't be mad at Roger. Be mad at and get things changed with the council. I mean, it's that easy.
Last question. I'll let you go build your chandeliers. What do you want to say?
I'll be delivering liquor. I'm trying to liquidate my liquor inventory today as much as I can. I'm sitting on about a lot of money that's already paid for, and it's doing nobody any good. So it could be the highlight of a 2 or 3 person party. And I got a couple orders today, and I got to bring my trash cans back and bring some tables back. I've been going like a bat out of hell, son.
Wait a second now. Don't forget about the trash cans and the tables. If somebody wants to buy liquor, I'm sure they heard that.
You text me at 239-872-4221. I am not making 1 extra penny off of this. I will sell it to you at my cost.
Cheryl says she needs a chandelier.
Oh.
Here, last time you guys got to take off offline. Here. Yeah. There you go. John's
pick a chandelier. Which one you want?
I can't see any of them, but he's got like 50 of them out there. John, lastly, before I let you go, what do you want to say to the employees, not just yours, but all those employees on the beach that are out of work now, and they're pretty much freaking out about making all their bills?
I did a post on Facebook to all landlords. And the thing is, if you've already paid off your mortgage, you need to pass it on, pay it forward to your tenants to alleviate this unneeded stress on your tenants. That would be our employees. If you have a mortgage, you need to call your banker and get a deferment of payment for 3 months to 6 months. They are offering it quickly and painlessly. And the sooner you do that, the more you can give back to the people that are in your thing. This is going to end. The employees, we're here for you when we open back up. I totally think they all understand we're all in this boat together. Are you guys still there? I can't see you. Hello?
Yeah, we're still there. I just wanted you to have the screen for yourself.
I have no, I'm at a loss of words to tell the employees. Without them, we are nothing. I just don't, I usually have answers. I don't know which way to guide them right now. And it pains me because I usually, anyone that knows me, when I ask a question, I already know the answer. I don't know the answer to this, guys. And it's just, I don't mean to be grim. We're going to get through this. We got a lot of great people working on vaccines and cures. And once that gets accomplished, this is over with. I mean, that's the out. We have to have the cure, a treatment, or a vaccine. And it's going to have its casualties with it, but still, we're going to be able to move on in life and get on with it. So,
all right,
we just
John.
got to pray for all the researchers and our doctors and scientists that they can come through and have our leadership, whether they're Democratic or Republican. I mean, the Democrats really stepped up this year or this week, but everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be good, guys. And we just got to look, how do we get back open? So I need some real hard questions answered from our local guys, and maybe they need to reach above them and they need to reach above them, but it needs to start right on Fort Myers Beach and our leaders, because we're looking at you. And don't tell me to call my congressman, because he doesn't know me from anyone. He's going to listen to you quicker than he's going to listen to me.
All right, John. Thanks so much for coming on, and hopefully we'll see you down on the beach soon.
And then you take it easy, and if you want me to bring a Pete's Time Out table over, I'll do it, and I'll deliver you liquor too anytime you want, sir.
All right.
How you holding up over there? You need some Blue Moon?
I don't need anything. I'm fine. I have no problem with being a shut-in. It's something that I'm good at. So
you've been practicing this for years.
Take care, John Lalo, the owner of Pete's Time Out. We appreciate John coming on. And there's Steve again. Steve, how do you think the show went? The technology of the show, I thought, went surprisingly well, other than Janine not being able to pop up with her microphone, which we really wanted to get a T-shirt update, but it seemed like it worked all right.
I think it worked great. And something I told you on a messenger message earlier in the week, I think we all thank you and Kim and Beach Talk Radio for the updates.
She doesn't put a lot of work into the show.
The timely information that comes out on a daily, multi-times daily basis. I mean, I think everybody, I certainly appreciate it.
Oh, you're froze up there, but I appreciate you saying that. Look at that shot oh, there you go. So I appreciate you saying that, Steve. And you know what? The amazing thing is that since this thing started, the views of the show, I mean, I know you folks have nothing, you probably do have better things to do, but you have been paying more attention to the show. And, you know, I'm sure when your lives get back to normal, you'll go back to doing things that you normally do on Saturday mornings and pay less attention to us, which is fine. I can't understand why you're watching this show to begin with, but I always appreciate that. I certainly appreciate every single person that watches or pays attention to the Facebook page. We do have, let me pop that up here. We do send out breaking news, you know, we don't overdo it, but if you text Beach Talk to 833-940-2433, as you see it on the screen there, we'll text you when we have a special show. It's really normally, you know, we're going to be on Saturday mornings at 9:00 at Pete's Time Out, but with all this other stuff going on, we've almost been nightly with the mayor, and I talk to the mayor every day, and she's like, which makes perfect sense. I don't want to go on if there's nothing, you know, nothing really new or nothing to be said. So we don't want to scare people or just go on to go on. So she's come on whenever there's new information, and we really appreciate that. So and people have been paying more attention to the show, mostly because of the mayor, not because of us, but anything that we can do to get the information out, we can. So we're going to text out special shows. We're going to text out breaking news because everything's on your phone now. And the other thing we're working on is a new app. We're working on a new app where, you can get notifications of breaking news if things are happening. And, I imagine when this whole thing ends, there won't be any really breaking news because this has just been changing hourly. It seems like I find myself watching 5 hours of a Collier County board meeting in which I never would have watched the Collier County board meeting in my life before. And, then I'm fascinated by the fact that there's a council member here, and then 6 feet away, there's another council member, and then 6 feet away, there's the third one. The other two are on the phone because they're trying to follow the rules set by, the CDC. So it's just been crazy. And if there's anything that we can do to provide more information, just let us know, and we'll try and do it as much as we can.
We're all worried about you too, Ed. So, are you okay? Are you keeping up with your fitness level? Your arms are looking a little scrawny there.
It's totally depressing. I have 2 bands left where I actually have 2 gym memberships, and I'm constantly watching my bank account now because I'm worried they're going to charge me for my gym memberships, because you know how you get a gym membership and then you stop going to the gym and then you don't pay attention to your account. And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, you've been charged $9,000 for a gym membership you never used, and you're trying to get it back. But I watch my account every day to see if they're going to charge me. And, but no, I have 2 bands and it's crazy, but I'll survive. It's a minor problem that I have, but I'm used to working at home, and it's interesting to see how other people are trying to adapt to working from home and everybody being in the house at the same time. I'm sure people have a new appreciation for teachers and putting up with the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 kids that they have. I was on the phone with somebody last night, and they were all in the car, and I was trying to have a conversation with him, and he's constantly not yelling at his kids, but the kids are going apes now because they're, they want to be out playing. They want to be with their friends, and now they're cooped up with their parents. Who wants to be cooped up with their parents, So there's that.
The question you asked John, what would he tell his employees? I think we heard it from him. He's evidently a great boss to work for. He seems like he treats people very, very well. He's respected in the community. I think his employees love working. The best thing he could tell his employees is that when it's all over, that they'll all be welcome back, and they'll have a place to work, and he'll be thrilled that they're there. So that's a great thing, and just that assurance, I think, means a lot to his people.
Yeah, it's just I think that when this whole thing ends, people are just going to flock to the beach. They're going to flock to the restaurants. They're going to want to, all that money they saved, they're going to want to spend at the restaurants, and whatever we can do to buy those T-shirts for the folks that are out of a job, or help them out. Like Ray said, drop off a check to Town Hall if you can. That's going to be great for them. And hopefully everything will be back to normal soon. So any final, I'm getting texts from Kim now who says, wrap it up. Not only does she tell me to wrap it up when I'm actually sitting at Pete's Timeout, she's texting me now to wrap it up and be over with the show. So any final words, Steve? You're going to get a hat to cover that spot on your head, right? It makes you look young when you do that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Radio hat there, Steve? You don't have one?
I have one. It's in the other room.
All right. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I saw you texting me.
It hurt it made me cry a little bit.
All right, Steve. Take care, man. Be safe.
All right. Hey, thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. And if we have any new news during the week, we will be sure to pop on. We'll always let you know a few hours in advance on the Facebook. And also we'll send you a text if it's breaking news, but we won't spam you. Thanks so much for listening. Over and out for now.